I'm Rachel Dunne, 30 years old, and until just last month, I had $49,000 tucked away for my first home. That money represented 5 years of skip takeout overtime shifts at the clinic and solo Friday nights. And just like that, it was gone. My younger sister Lily walked into my credit union in Flagstaff, Arizona, impersonated me with a fake ID, drained the account, and proudly rolled off the lot in a sleek new BMW. I was in shock. I turned to my parents for help, some kind of support, maybe even just outrage. But my mom blinked once and said she needed a fresh start. "You'll bounce back, honey." I couldn't breathe. If you're watching this, leave a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from. And don't forget to subscribe, because what happened next, that's when everything changed. Growing up in a small desert town outside Flagstaff in the early 2000s, it was always obvious who the golden child was. Lily, 2 years younger, had sun-kissed hair, a laugh like music, and a way of getting people to do whatever she wanted. While I stayed up late tutoring myself through algebra, Lily was off winning homecoming queen. Our parents, Jim and Patricia Dunne, played favorites like it was a sport. If Lily got a B+, it was ice cream and balloons. When I made the honor roll, Dad would grunt. "That's what we expect from you, Rach." Dad, a retired firefighter, bonded with Lily over community events and car shows. Mom, who managed a trendy boutique downtown, treated Lily like her little celebrity. I was the responsible one, the one who didn't need help. So I stopped asking. While Lily bounced between friend groups and boyfriends, I worked weekends at the town pharmacy and planned every step of my life like it was a blueprint. When college came, they paid Lily's tuition at a pricey liberal arts school where she majored in digital lifestyle branding. I went to a state college on scholarships and picked up evening shifts to fill the gaps. When I asked why they never helped me the same way, Dad shrugged. "You've got grit, Rachel. Lily's the one who needs lifting." Those words stayed with me. Lily needs it more. Always her, never me. I graduated in healthcare management with $28,000 in debt. She came home with nothing, no job, no debt, and a newly renovated guest house in my parents' backyard. They proudly called her Inspiration Space. After college, I accepted a position at a mid-sized healthcare management firm in Phoenix, moved into a cramped apartment with a roommate near downtown, and lived by a budget so tight it practically squeaked. I was determined to pay off my student loans in 3 years, not 10. While I skipped dinners out and lived off grocery store pasta, Lily was launching her third business, a lifestyle branding agency that boiled down to my parents paying her to post outfit photos on Instagram. When that flopped like the two ventures before it, Mom and Dad didn't blink. They bought her a new wardrobe from a boutique in Sedona and sent her on a healing trip to Maui. It became routine. Lily would rack up credit card debt, and they'd clear it. She needed a new car for client impressions. They co-signed on a luxury lease. Meanwhile, I was climbing the ladder at work. Promotions came slowly but steadily. I monitored my credit score like a hawk and finally cleared my student debt. 5 years ago, after a significant promotion to department lead, I opened a separate savings account just for my house fund. Each month, a chunk of my paycheck moved there automatically. I tracked mortgage rates, explored first-time buyer programs, and charted out exactly how long I'd need to afford a modest home with good bones. The only person who seemed to truly understand the weight of my discipline was my grandmother, Eleanor. Grandma Eleanor had lived through the Dust Bowl in her youth. She'd once told me over tea, "Your sister gets the applause now, Rachel. But you're building the foundation. And someday, that'll matter more than sparkle." Her words became my guide anytime I felt tempted to splurge or felt invisible. Then last year, things started shifting. Lily finally held a steady job at a boutique marketing agency, her longest stint yet. My parents threw me a small dinner party when I was named senior operations advisor. For once I thought, maybe we were moving forward as a family. Maybe things were finally fair. Feeling more hopeful, I started opening up, sharing my dream of homeownership, my progress, and even a few listings I'd bookmarked. 3 months ago, during Sunday dinner, I mentioned I was nearing my down payment goal. My mom beamed, my dad toasted to my hard work, and Lily even leaned over to ask if she could see pictures. I showed them a cozy 3-bedroom near Camelback East with lots of light and a fixer-upper kitchen I'd planned to modernize myself. Everyone nodded, smiling. For the first time in years, I felt seen. That made what happened next all the more devastating. Just last month, I met with Jessica, a realtor a coworker had recommended. After years of planning, sacrificing, and saving, I was finally ready to make an offer on the house I'd been dreaming about, a charming, Adobe-style home in the Encanto district of Phoenix, complete with a cozy backyard and a sunny bay window that begged for a reading nook. The night before my meeting with Jessica, I decided to log into my savings account just to triple-check the balance and reassure myself that everything was real. I remember that moment vividly. I was at my tiny kitchen table laptop, open a steaming mug of chamomile tea in hand. The desert evening outside was still and quiet, the only sound the soft hum of the fridge behind me. I clicked through to my account and froze. Where there should have been $49.872. 33, the result of 5 relentless years of saving, there was $17.42. I blinked, closed the tab, and reopened it. Same number. My heart kicked into overdrive. I tried logging out, logging back in, thinking maybe I'd checked the wrong account. I checked my checking account, my emergency fund, nothing was missing from those. But the house fund, it was gutted. With trembling fingers, I dialed the bank's customer service line. "I need to report fraudulent activity on my account," I said, barely able to steady my voice. "Almost $50,000 is missing." The representative placed me on hold after taking the details. I stood pacing the apartment, every possible scenario racing through my mind: identity theft, a bank error. When she came back, her voice was calm, but her words sent me spinning. "Ms. Dunne, our records show a withdrawal of $49,800 2 days ago from our Central Avenue branch. It appears to have been an in-person transaction. We have a signed withdrawal slip on file." I almost dropped the phone. "That's not possible," I snapped. "I haven't set foot in a branch in months, certainly not that one." The representative asked additional security questions, then assured me the matter would be escalated to their fraud team, and that they'd review the branch's security footage. Results would take up to 48 hours. I canceled my meeting with Jessica and called in sick to work. I didn't sleep that night. The next afternoon, my phone rang. "Ms. Dunne, we reviewed the footage. The individual who made the withdrawal is a young woman. She used an ID in your name and answered all your security questions, your mother's maiden name, even your voice passcode." My stomach dropped. There was only one person who could have known those details. I whispered, "Do you know where the money went?" "Yes," the rep replied. "It was issued as a cashier's check payable to Desert Lux Motors." I didn't even hang up. I just dialed Lily. No answer. I texted her, "Call me. Now." It was an emergency. Still no response from Lily. I was grabbing my keys to drive across town to her apartment when I heard the unmistakable sound of a luxury engine purring outside my building. I rushed to the window, and there she was. Lily climbing out of a brand new white Mercedes convertible parked neatly in the visitor space below my unit in Encanto. She wore oversized sunglasses, high heels, and a smug grin that made my stomach turn. She looked like she just walked off the set of a commercial. I bolted outside and met her near the curb. "Lily," I called, trying to hold my voice steady. She turned, beaming. "Isn't she gorgeous?" she said, motioning toward the car. "Got an amazing deal. Fully loaded." I blinked. "Lily? Did you take money from my account?" She didn't even flinch. "I needed it for the down payment. They wouldn't approve the full loan otherwise." "That was my house fund," I said, my voice cracking. 5 years of saving. You stole it." Lily brushed her hand across the hood like it was her pet. "Rachel, don't be so dramatic. You're amazing at budgeting. You'll save it again. I needed this for my brand. I can't pull up to client meetings in that busted old Corolla." I stared at her, struggling to breathe. "You forged my signature. You used my ID. That's fraud. It's a crime." She rolled her eyes. "It's not stealing. We're family. And besides, Mom and Dad said it was fine." The words hit harder than any slap. "What?" She nodded like it was no big deal. "I needed help accessing your bank info. They gave it to me. Said you'd understand. You're always the responsible one, right?" I stood there speechless, watching my sister lean against a $70,000 car bought with my dreams. I felt like the pavement was splitting beneath my feet. In a fog, I got in my car and drove to my parents' house, the same one I'd grown up in the Paradise Valley suburbs, now twisted into something unrecognizable. When I pulled into their circular driveway, Dad's old Cadillac was parked in the usual spot. The American flag fluttered near the porch. I stepped out, my cheeks wet with tears. Inside, it was Sunday, as usual. Mom stood at the stove prepping her rosemary roast. Dad lounged in the living room, yelling at the TV during a golf tournament. The scent of dinner wafted through the house, once comforting, now nauseating. I stood in the doorway of the kitchen, hands shaking. "Did you really help Lily steal my savings?" I asked. My mother didn't even turn around. "She needed it, Rachel. Can't you just be happy for her? Rachel, what a nice surprise," my mother said as I stepped into the kitchen, wiping her hands on a floral apron. Her expression shifted the second she saw my tear-streaked face. "Honey, what's wrong?" my dad called from the living room. He muted the golf game and wandered in concern etched on his face. "You look upset, kiddo. Something happened at work." Their concern seemed so genuine. I hesitated. For a brief moment, I wondered, had Lily lied to me? Maybe she'd forged my parents' involvement too. Maybe they'd be just as horrified as I was. "She emptied my house fund," I said, watching them both closely. "Lily took nearly $50,000 and bought herself a Mercedes. That money was for my down payment." The split-second glance they exchanged told me everything. They already knew. And worse, they weren't surprised. "Now," Rachel, my dad began gently, slipping into that careful tone he always used when trying to calm me down. "I know this is upsetting, but try to look at the bigger picture." "The bigger picture," I repeated, blinking. "Dad, she stole from me. That was fraud. 5 years of saving gone." Mom reached for my arm, but I stepped back. "Sweetheart, Lily's had a rough year. After the breakup with Brent, her confidence has been shattered. This car, it's giving her something to feel good about again." I stared at her, stunned. "So her confidence is worth more than my future, than my hard work, my trust." "It's not like that." Dad said, his frown deepening. "She needs this car to meet clients, to build her image. It's an investment in her future." "And what about my future?" I asked, my voice cracking. "I had a showing booked. I was this close to buying a house. You've always been good with money," Mom said softly, as if that somehow made this okay. "You'll save it again. You've got a good job, no debt. Lily's still trying to find her path." "She's 28, I snapped. "When does she start being responsible for herself?" Dad's tone turned cold. "That's enough, Rachel. Your sister needed help. We're a family, we step up. You've always been the capable one. Would it really kill you to make a sacrifice for once?" A sacrifice. What did they think I'd been doing my entire life? Before I could respond, the front door swung open. Lily waltzed in like she owned the place. Designer sunglasses pushed up into her hair keys, to my dream in her hand. "Anyone want a ride?" she chirped, twirling the keys. "She drives like heaven." And just like that, I realized I was utterly alone in this family. Lily had changed into a new outfit. Sleek beige trousers, designer blouse, and a fresh pair of sunglasses perched on her head, an ensemble that probably cost more than a month of my house savings. "Oh, good, you're all here," she chirped, strolling into the kitchen like it was any other Sunday. She seemed completely oblivious to the tension thick in the air. "Mom, can you help me set up the insurance for the new car? The dealer said I have to get it finalized by tomorrow." I stared at her, stunned. "Are you serious right now? You steal my money, then walk in here asking for more help." Lily rolled her eyes. "God, are you still on about that? I told you, you'll save it again. You're good at that stuff. You had no right to touch my money." I snapped, my composure finally cracking. "None. Rachel, lower your voice," my mother said sharply. "The neighbors can hear you." "I don't care who hears me. I want my money back, Lily. All of it." Lily let out a short laugh. Yeah, that's not happening. The car's already registered in my name. And besides, Mom and Dad agree I needed it more than you needed some boring little house. I turned to them, silently begging for backup for justice. But my dad just stepped beside Lily and draped his arm around her shoulder like she was the victim. Rachel, you're being selfish, he said, shaking his head. Family helps family. Your sister needed support and you'll recover. You've always been resilient. Why am I making a big deal? I asked, my voice breaking. Because it's theft. Because it was my money. Because you've always favored her. And now, it's cost me everything. That's ridiculous, Mom snapped. We've never played favorites. Lily gave me a smug look. Maybe they just love me more because I'm not so obsessed with money and control like you are, Rachel. The irony of her words spoken while she stood there in luxury clothes with the keys to a car she bought with my savings was apparently lost on all of them. I can't believe this, I whispered. I can't believe my own family would do this to me. Oh, stop being dramatic, Lily huffed. It's just money. Just money. Just 5 years of skipped vacations. Just every dream I had of finally owning a home. Just my trust shattered beyond repair. I looked at the three of them standing shoulder to shoulder, a united front like always. Without another word, I turned and walked out. Behind me, I heard Mom call, "You're overreacting. Come back, we can talk this out." But I was already gone. I got into my car and drove away from my childhood home in Paradise Valley, tears blurring my vision so badly I had to pull over just a few blocks away, parking in front of a row of cacti-lit adobe houses I barely noticed. Sitting alone in the stillness of my car, the silence pressing in, I had never felt more alone in my life. As I struggled to catch my breath through quiet sobs, a memory surfaced, one I hadn't thought of in years. I was 16. Curled beside Grandma Eleanor on her creaky porch swing during a quiet evening in Prescott, her hand resting over mine. Family is important, Rachel. She had said, her voice raspy but steady, but there comes a point when you need boundaries, even with the people you love most. Some folks will take and take until there's nothing left of you if you let them. At 16, those words felt abstract, sad even. But now, at 30, watching my life savings vanish with my sister's shiny new car and my parents' approval, I understood exactly what Grandma meant. This wasn't a one-time betrayal. It was the latest in a lifetime of them. At 18, my parents had promised they'd help cover my college tuition. 2 months before classes started, they sat me down and regretfully explained that the money had gone toward Lily's backpacking trip across Europe because she needed to find herself before college. I took out extra loans. Then, when Grandma Eleanor passed away 3 years ago, she left her vintage jewelry collection to be split evenly between Lily and me. But when the box was opened, all the valuable heirlooms, her sapphire brooch, the gold locket from her wedding day had already been claimed. I was left with sentimental costume jewelry and a polite smile from Mom. They saw nothing wrong with it. Every time I swallowed the hurt, I told myself family matters more than things. Every time I forgave without a single apology. But not this time. This time, something inside me cracked and solidified. I drove to South Mountain Park, the one place in Phoenix that always cleared my head. As the sun dipped behind the desert ridge, painting the sky in coral and gold, I felt a quiet resolve begin to grow inside me. My phone buzzed a message from Diana, my best friend. "Are you okay? You missed our coffee date." I'd completely forgotten our Sunday ritual. I called her immediately. "Rachel." "What's going on?" she asked, voice filled with concern. "You never just disappear. Can you meet me at Carlton's in Tempe?" I asked. "I really need to talk to someone who isn't related to me." 20 minutes later, we sat across from each other in a quiet booth, and I finally let it all spill out. Diana's expression shifted from shock to full-blown outrage as I finished recounting what had happened. "Rachel, that's not just wrong. That's criminal." "She used my ID," I said quietly. "She forged my signature. And my parents, they helped her do it." Diana reached across the table and gripped my hand. "Listen to me. This isn't normal. This isn't some family spat. It's fraud. It's identity theft. And it's abuse." "They're my family," I replied automatically, the words hollow as they left my mouth. It was the same line I'd repeated to myself for years, no matter how badly I was treated. Family doesn't steal 50 grand from you. Diana said, her voice firm but kind. And this isn't the first time Lily's crossed the line. I blinked. What do you mean? Diana hesitated, then let out a sigh. I never told you, because, well, I didn't want to come between you two. But 2 years ago, Lily asked me for a $5,000 loan for some business launch. I said no. A week later, I noticed $800 charged to my credit card. Somehow she got my info. I reported it and got it refunded, but when I confronted her, she just shrugged and said she needed it. Like it was no big deal. My jaw dropped. Why didn't you tell me she begged me not to? Said she was desperate, promised she'd pay me back. I didn't want to stir up drama. I thought she'd grow out of it. The revelation hit me like a punch. Lily had stolen from people outside our family. It wasn't just a sibling squabble. It was a pattern, one I'd been enabling by staying silent. The years of swallowed anger, ignored slights, and blind forgiveness finally caught up to me. I dropped my head into my hands and cried, really cried, for everything I had lost. Diana slid into the booth beside me and wrapped an arm around my shoulders. It's okay to be angry, she said gently. It's okay to say no, even to your family, especially when they hurt you. As the sobs subsided, a strange clarity took hold. She was right. This wasn't about money. It was about respect, dignity, boundaries. I don't think I'll ever save that much again, I whispered. That house, it's gone. Maybe not. Diana said, a flicker of thought crossing her face. Didn't you tell me once you set up extra security on that savings account? A memory stirred. The bank manager had suggested a unique security verification, a custom code required for large withdrawals. The verification code? I whispered, hope slowly stirring in my chest. Lily couldn't have known that code, I murmured. She must have bypassed it somehow, or lied. Diana said, brows furrowed. Rachel, you need to talk to that bank manager again. And honestly, maybe even a lawyer. For the first time since discovering the theft, a flicker of hope sparked inside me. If Lily had managed to get around the security system, that wasn't just a misunderstanding, it was deliberate fraud. And no amount of family loyalty could disguise it as anything else. I'm going to the bank first thing tomorrow, I said, straightening my spine. Diana nodded firmly. And I'm coming with you. It's time someone had your back. As we walked out of Carlton's, the warm Arizona air hitting our faces, I realized I was standing at a crossroads. Down one path was the well-worn trail of silence, of swallowing the hurt, forgiving without accountability, and staying small to keep the peace. Down the other was the unfamiliar terrain of standing up for myself. It meant setting boundaries, possibly cutting ties, maybe forever. Grandma Eleanor's voice echoed in my mind. Financial independence is the greatest gift you can give yourself. She had been right almost. The real gift was the courage to value myself enough to demand respect. I chose the second path. On Monday morning, Diana and I walked into First Valley Bank, the branch I'd used since my college days. I had called ahead and scheduled an appointment with William Parker, the same bank manager who'd helped me open my house savings account 5 years ago. William greeted me with a surprised smile. Ms. Dunne, I haven't seen you in a while. That smile faded quickly as I explained what had happened. His fingers flew across the keyboard, eyes narrowing. This account had enhanced verification, he said. Withdrawals over $10,000 require a unique 6-digit code separate from your regular password. My sister didn't know that code, I said. No one did. I never shared it. William's face darkened as he examined the logs. The withdrawal was processed with a code, but wait. He typed again, paused. It was manually overridden by the teller after multiple failed attempts. What does that mean? Diana asked. William looked up. It means someone tried the wrong code several times, then convinced the teller to override the system and process the transaction manually. Is there security footage? I asked, my pulse racing. William nodded. Yes, every in-person transaction is recorded. And if someone claimed to be you, we'll have it on video. Our fraud department should have flagged this already given the amount involved. William said, picking up the phone. He spoke quietly with someone in the bank's internal security office. When he hung up, he turned back to me, his face grave. "They're sending over the footage now. Ms. Dunne, based on everything you've described, I strongly encourage you to speak with our legal department. This looks like a clear case of identity theft and financial fraud." About 20 minutes later, Diana and I sat in a glass-walled conference room. The lights dimmed as security footage played on a wall-mounted monitor. There she was, Lily, standing at the teller window. Her hair was curled like mine, and she wore dark-rimmed glasses eerily similar to my old pair. It was unmistakable she was deliberately impersonating me. She handed over my ID, smiled at the teller, and made casual small talk like it was the most normal thing in the world. But when asked for the verification code, she hesitated, fidgeted with her phone, then leaned in, speaking in hushed tones. She claimed she forgot the code, William explained. The teller's report says she said it was a medical emergency and provided additional personal details to prove her identity. What kind of details, I asked, though? I already knew. Your social security number, your mother's maiden name, the address of your first apartment. I closed my eyes. All information my parents would have known. The betrayal cut deeper than I could describe. "What are my options?" I asked. "First," William said, "we'll freeze your accounts immediately. Second, you can file a formal fraud claim here at the bank. That initiates an internal investigation. And third, and I strongly recommend this, you report the incident to the police as identity theft." Diana squeezed my hand. "You should do all of it, Rachel." I hesitated. If I file a police report, my sister could face criminal charges. William nodded solemnly. "Yes, identity theft and bank fraud are federal crimes, but without a report recovering the funds, especially since they've already been used, will be significantly harder." I took a long breath. "Then I'll do it. All of it." We froze. The accounts filled out the fraud paperwork, and then Diana drove me to the law office of Michael Stein, a financial fraud attorney she knew. His office was modest, lined with bookshelves and law certificates. After hearing my story, he leaned forward, serious. "Based on the bank's actions and your sister's impersonation, you have a strong case. The teller's override is legally problematic for both your sister and the bank." "And what about my parents?" I asked. Michael didn't flinch. "If they knowingly provided your private data to assist her, they could be considered co-conspirators. If you've ever had to choose between protecting your peace and pleasing your family, hit that subscribe button, because what happens next in Rachel's fight for justice will leave you breathless." "Your parents," Michael Stein said carefully, "if they knowingly gave your sister access to your information, could be considered accessories. But proving their direct involvement would require more than assumption. Without written communication or recordings, it's difficult to establish intent." He leaned forward and outlined the next steps. "First, we'll send a formal demand letter to Lily, requiring full repayment within 7 days. If she doesn't respond or comply, we'll proceed with civil action to recover the funds and coordinate with the district attorney on potential criminal charges." Michael paused. "Before we go any further, Rachel, I want to be sure you understand what this means. Legal action against a family member can permanently damage those relationships. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about my parents' cold indifference, their unwavering defense of Lily, the way they dismissed my pain like it was overblown drama. I thought about a lifetime of being the quiet, responsible daughter, the one expected to sacrifice again and again without thanks or recognition. I looked Michael in the eye. "Yes," I said, "I'm prepared." But before officially filing the police report, I gave Lily one final opportunity. That night, I sent her a text. "Lily, I've spoken with the bank and a lawyer. What you did qualifies as identity theft and fraud. I'm giving you one chance to return the full amount, $49,870, within 24 hours. If you don't, I'll file a police report and press charges. This isn't a threat, it's a consequence." Her response came in seconds. "Lol, are you serious? You'd throw your own sister in jail over money. Good luck. Mom and Dad won't let you." Any lingering doubt I had evaporated. The next morning, I sat in a small interview room at the Phoenix Police Department with Officer Thompson, a soft-spoken woman who took my full statement and carefully documented every detail. "Unfortunately, we see this a lot," she said. Family financial fraud is more common than most people realize, and underreported because the victims feel guilty. I gave her a chance to fix it, I said quietly. That's more than she gave me. With the report filed, Michael sent a certified demand letter to Lily and copies to my parents' home. I also contacted the dealership where Lily had purchased the Mercedes. On a three-way call with the finance manager, Michael explained the circumstances. The vehicle was purchased with stolen funds. If you refuse to cooperate in recovering them, your dealership may also face liability. Understandably, rattled, the finance manager promised to consult their legal department. Meanwhile, my phone lit up with messages. Lily swung between mockery and desperate pleading. My mother left voicemails, some guilt-tripping, others veiled threats. And for the first time in my life, I didn't answer. My father's texts were nothing but anger, calling me vindictive, ungrateful, and cruel. I stopped reading them after the third barrage and handed my phone to Diana, who took over screening my messages. She filtered out anything important and shielded me from the rest of the emotional chaos. Even though I knew I was doing the right thing, years of conditioning made me question myself. Was I being too harsh? Was I destroying my family over money? Should I just let it go? Diana and my coworker Sarah became my anchors. Sarah, who had dealt with similar family dynamics, introduced me to Dr. Elaine Winters, a therapist specializing in toxic family trauma. What your family did wasn't just financially abusive, Dr. Winters said during our first session. It's part of a long pattern of manipulation and scapegoating. Your response isn't just about the stolen money, it's about finally breaking free. 3 days after the certified demand letters were delivered, the dealership called. After consulting with their legal team, they agreed to cooperate fully with the investigation. They provided written documentation showing that Lily had used a cashier's check from my bank account for a $49,800 down payment on the Mercedes, financing the rest through the dealership. That same afternoon, I received an update from First Valley Bank. Their fraud investigation had concluded verification protocols had not been properly followed. They admitted fault and agreed to restore the full amount to a new secure account, while the legal case against Lily continued. It was the first real breath of relief I'd taken in weeks, but that victory sparked a new wave of fallout. Lily was served with legal papers at her workplace. I hadn't asked for that detail, but the process server, unable to reach her at home, made the decision. She called me moments after screaming. I had to pull the phone away from my ear. How could you do this to me? In front of my coworkers, I could lose my job. You committed fraud, I said evenly. This is what accountability looks like. It's family money, she shouted. You're being insane. No, Lily. It was my money, earned, saved. And now you have a chance to fix this. She hung up. 10 minutes later, my mom called. Rachel Marie Dunne. She snapped, using my full name like a weapon. I've never been so disappointed in you. Your sister is devastated. How dare you have her served at work? I didn't choose where they served her, I said. And yes, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm finally standing up for myself. That she hissed is the most selfish thing I've ever heard. Family helps family, Rachel. Your sister made a mistake, my mother said sharply. But to take it this far, lawyers, police. What will people think? I don't care what people think anymore, I replied. I care about what's right. My dad's call came later that night, and it was worse. He didn't yell. He didn't raise his voice. Instead, his words were sharp and cold, like a blade. You've always been jealous of Lily, he said quietly, but I never thought you'd go this far just to hurt her. He paused, then added, if you follow through with this, you're no longer welcome in this family. His words cut deeper than I expected, but I held firm. I'm sorry you feel that way, Dad. I love you, but I won't let anyone steal from me. Not even Lily. Then the rest of the family got involved. My Aunt Karen, my mother's sister, called to lecture me about loyalty and forgiveness. But Uncle Mark, my dad's older brother, surprised me with quiet support. Your parents have let Lily get away with everything her whole life, he said. It's about time someone held her accountable. The combined legal pressure police investigation and the dealership's cooperation finally forced Lily's hand. 2 weeks after I filed the report, she was required to return to the dealership and sign the paperwork to return the Mercedes. A uniformed officer supervised the transaction due to the pending fraud investigation. I wasn't required to be there, but Michael advised I attend to ensure everything proceeded smoothly. So I stood silently near the office door as Lily, no longer confident, no longer smug, sat across the table, eyes puffy and shoulders slumped quietly, signing the forms. She glanced up once. "Are you happy now?" she asked, her voice raw. "You've ruined everything." "This was your choice, Lily," I replied. "You could have asked. You could have told the truth. But you stole from me." "It wasn't stealing," she muttered, barely audible. "It was just a misunderstanding. I was going to pay you back." I shook my head. "With what money? You've never held a job for more than a year. You've never saved more than $1,000. How are you going to pay back 50? She had no answer. As she left, my parents arrived to collect her. Mom couldn't resist one last remark. "I hope you're proud, Rachel. Your sister has nothing now because of you." I watched them drive off in my father's Cadillac, Lily curled in the back seat like a scolded child. But her words echoed bitterly in my head. "Your sister has nothing now. Because of you? No," I thought. "She has nothing now because of herself." Lily had nothing now because of her own choices. And even then, she still had more than most. Parents who'd defend her no matter what, who'd drop everything to bail her out, and who'd house and fund her lifestyle without question. What did I have? A restored bank account. Yes, but also a fractured family that might never speak to me again. That thought sat heavy on my chest as I drove back to my apartment, the city lights of Phoenix blurring past in the dark. Had I made the right decision? Would this divide ever heal? I was pulling into the parking lot when my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. I hesitated, then picked up. "Rachel, this is Elaine, your grandma Eleanor's friend. I hope I'm not intruding. Your grandmother gave me your number years ago in case of emergency." My heart skipped. "Is everything okay?" "Oh, yes, dear. I just heard through the family grapevine what's been going on. I wanted you to know. Eleanor would have been so proud of you." I blinked, startled. She would? She went through something similar once. Her sister took a set of savings bonds left by their father. They were meant to be shared. Eleanor was the only one who stood up and said no. I didn't know that. I whispered. "She never liked to talk about it," Elaine said. "But she told me it was the hardest and best thing she ever did. It changed everything between them. Eventually, for the better." Her voice was warm, steady. The call felt like a life raft in a storm. In the weeks that followed, the tension remained. My parents froze me out completely, refusing calls, answering only with clipped text messages. Family events turned uncomfortable. People whispered. Some didn't speak to me at all. But Lily, faced with bank records, video footage, and legal pressure, finally caved. She signed a settlement agreement, repaying my legal fees, lost interest, and the emotional damages Michael had insisted on including. 5 years of payments backed by a formal judgment. Then came the hardest moment, a text from my mother. "Thanksgiving is at 3 p.m. Lily will be there. Please don't come if you're still insisting on this ridiculous lawsuit. We want a peaceful holiday." It was the first major holiday I'd ever miss. And despite everything, the exclusion stung. But I wouldn't be alone. Diana invited me to her family's Thanksgiving, a warm, noisy dinner with mismatched chairs, pie from scratch, and laughter that didn't carry judgment. That night, I looked around the table and realized, sometimes the family you build is stronger than the one you're born into. "My mom already loves you from all my stories," Diana had insisted as she handed me a slice of homemade pumpkin pie. "And my brother can't wait to meet the badass who stood up to her embezzling sister." I smiled, touched. I accepted the invitation, grateful for her warmth, though deep down I was still quietly grieving being ousted from my own family's Thanksgiving table. 6 months passed. Spring returned to Phoenix, painting the desert in surprising bursts of color. New blossoms and new beginnings. I stood barefoot in the kitchen of my new home. Not the one I'd originally dreamed of, but one I'd found and fallen for during my restarted search, a cozy two-bedroom bungalow with a tiny backyard and lemon tree in bloom. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine. Thanks to the bank's restitution and Lily's first court-ordered payment, I had enough for the down payment and closing costs. As I unpacked a box of dishes, I thought back to that day when I discovered my account had been emptied. Everything since had changed. The most unexpected change, Lily herself. After nearly facing criminal charges, losing her job, and moving back in with our parents, reality finally caught up with her. 2 months after returning the car, she texted asking to meet. We met at a coffee shop public just in case. We sat in silence for a bit before she finally said, "I've been taking financial counseling classes. Court-ordered, but they're helping." She stared into her coffee. I never realized how warped my thinking was. About money. About everything. I let her talk. My counselor said I've been using spending to feel better about myself. That I've been enabled by mom and dad since we were kids. She finally looked at me, and that I've been unfair to you for a long time. It wasn't quite an apology, but it was more than I'd ever expected. "I work at a call center now," she added. "It's not exciting, but it's stable. I'm sharing a place. I'm on a budget." By our third coffee, she finally said the words, "I'm sorry, Rachel. What I did was wrong. Really wrong. I can't take it back, but I'm trying to be better." Our relationship wasn't healed, but it had a beginning. My parents took longer. Months of cold distance ended. Only after Elaine, Grandma Eleanor's friend, invited them to lunch without telling them I'd be there. She didn't mince words. "You've always held your daughters to different standards," she said firmly. Eleanor saw it. I saw it. Everyone did. Rachel has been punished for being responsible. Lily rewarded for being reckless. My mom had started to object, but Elaine cut her off. "Patricia, remember when you and Jim got that starter money from his father to build your life? How would you have felt if Jim's sister took your share and his parents told you to just earn it again?" That stopped her. For the first time, it seemed my mom truly considered what their choices had looked like from my perspective. Progress with my parents came slowly and in fits. We started with short, stilted phone calls that ended too quickly, but they grew easier with time. By the time I finalized the paperwork on my bungalow in Phoenix, we'd reached an uneasy truce. They didn't help me move in. That was still too soon. But 2 days later, a potted succulent arrived at my door with a small card. "Congratulations. Love, Mom and Dad." Family therapy had been my suggestion. To my surprise, they agreed. The first session was tense. My dad was still convinced they had treated Lily and me equally. But by the third session, Dr. Mercer, our therapist, had gently opened the door to truths we hadn't fully faced. Families often unconsciously assign roles, she explained. Rachel became the responsible one. Lily, the one who needed rescuing. And when those roles become fixed, they shape how each person is treated and how they treat themselves. It didn't magically heal everything, but it gave us language, understanding, a place to begin. Now, on a warm Saturday in May, as sunlight spilled through my kitchen windows, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find my parents standing on the porch, a casserole dish in my mom's hands. "We brought lunch," she said gently. "If that's okay." I hesitated, but only for a moment. "Sure," I said, stepping aside. I was just unpacking the last kitchen boxes. "We can help," my dad added, his voice stiff but sincere. As we worked side by side, our words were cautious but kind. They asked about my neighborhood, admired the paint colors, mentioned that Lily had gotten a small promotion. "She's still in those budgeting classes," Mom said, arranging silverware. "She says it's changing how she sees everything." "That's good," I replied, and I meant it. After lunch, we sat in folding chairs in my half-furnished living room. My dad cleared his throat. "Rachel, I owe you an apology. What we did, how we treated you, it wasn't right." The words hung between us like fragile glass. "We were wrong," Mom added softly. "You deserved our support too." I'm sorry it took this to see that. Their apology didn't erase the past, but it was a beginning, a real one. 3 weeks later, I hosted my first dinner party in my new home. Diana and Sarah came, of course. So did Lily, bringing a bottle of wine she'd actually saved up for. My parents arrived with dessert. Elaine Grandma. Eleanor's dear friend joined us too, sharing stories that made us laugh and cry. As I looked around my dinner table, a tapestry of connections. Some mended, some still mending, I realized I'd gained something far more valuable than the money I'd recovered. I had reclaimed my self-respect. And for the first time, my family was learning to honor the boundaries I'd fought so hard to build. The journey had been painful, but it was necessary. Like Grandma Eleanor before me, standing up for myself had been the hardest and best thing I'd ever done. That night, I sat on my porch swing under the Arizona stars, reflecting on how far I'd come. If you're struggling with family who take advantage of your kindness, remember setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's survival. If you've made it to the end of my story, thank you. It wasn't easy for me to live, and it certainly wasn't easy to share. But I know I'm not alone. I know there are others out there who've been the responsible one, the one who's quietly carried the weight of a family while being overlooked, dismissed, or taken advantage of. If any part of my journey resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from, or share a moment when you finally stood up for yourself, because your stories matter too. If you believe I did the right thing, if you've ever been in my shoes or want to offer support, drop a message below. Your encouragement means more than you know. And if you're still learning to set boundaries with the people closest to you, please remember, this saying, no, doesn't make you a bad daughter, sibling, or friend. It makes you someone who knows their worth. Standing up for yourself isn't about revenge. It's about healing, rebuilding, choosing peace over patterns. So subscribe if you believe in that kind of strength, because the journey isn't over and none of us should walk it alone.